Okay, hello, it's Sefik here. How are you doing? Hashtag just call me chef. I hope you are doing well. It is Monday, and this week, I guess, is Mental Health Awareness Week off the back of May 2021 being Mental Health Awareness Month. And who would I be as the empowerment coach, as the go-to guy for all things about mental health related if I didn't put out a short blog? So you'll be seeing a lot of me this week in this very bedroom. My right leg, my right foot, everything on the right is just peculiar at the moment. We don't know why. Lots of acupuncture sessions, GP, painkillers, CBD oil, you name it. I can't put any pressure on it without it feeling like it's being chopped off. So might have to visit the hospital. Yes, the hospital with what's going on in the world, but I've got to get this sorted. But just to give you an idea, if you don't see a lot of me this week, it's because of this. But I felt compelled, or I wanted to give you an insight into the mental health story. So when we talk about Mental Health Awareness Month or Awareness Week, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about the victims? Are we going to talk about the circumstances? Are we going to talk about those who have to live with it? And it's not only the individual who's suffering like I suffered throughout those 10 years. It's also about the partners, about the families, about the loved ones, about the ones who are concerned, and how do they live with it? How do you deal with somebody who is suffering from a mental health condition? How do you deal with somebody who is crippled by anxiety, crippled by depression, crippled by what has happened in their past and cannot let go of it? How do you deal with it? There is no real school of thought. When I say school of thought, real go-to place for it. There's lots of places here in Surrey, Richmond Fellowship, the Recovery College, we've got the GP, we've got Surrey Borders Partners, a whole plethora of things, but we don't really know to be signposted. And obviously the Samaritans and 101 is there not. But mental health is a massive thing. And just to give you an insight, the biggest thing you can do, and the biggest thing that I found, was the challenge to accept it, to accept something was wrong. And then once you accept something's wrong, and then you go to the GP, to the relative authority, should you say, and then hanging true to that diagnosis. You're not just flat, you're not just tired, you're not just run down, there's something else. It's called the black dog syndrome. Please YouTube it. It's the most prevalent and profound 8 minutes you'll ever see, the black dog syndrome. But I'll give you an insight into what it is, and maybe if you'd like me to give you a snapshot throughout the week of what it's like, I'd be happy to do so. So my mental health was one that was born out of, or mental health condition, and my two attempts that I took on my life were basically born out of fatigue, about working crazy hours in a very dictatorial place, in a very unsupportive place, and just feeling like I wasn't marrying up to what, inverted commas, society said I should match up to. I was working crazy hours, 75, 85-hour weeks, earning a good job, living in a lovely part of the world, but not seeing my wife, not seeing my children, not having that time really that I was working so hard to have. And it dragged me down and dragged me down. So once I finally acknowledged it, and this was about 6 months after going to the GP for that, the 15th time to take my antidepressants, it was then holding firm that there was something wrong with me. In actual fact, Sefik, there is something wrong with you. You've managed to stand up above the parapet and hold your hand up. You've managed to go through all the HR for weeks after weeks, months after months, year after year, to justify there's something wrong with you. And then once you've acknowledged it and let everybody else acknowledge it, where do you go now? Where is the support? And how do you break through? How do you beat it? How do you take it head on, and what do you do? There's all schools of thought. Is it prescription drugs? Is it mindfulness? Is it going on retreats? Is it cutting ties? What is it? But it starts with you. That's what it is. The magic is with you. And if I could just give you a little scenario, just to give you an idea of how bad it can be. So I acknowledged the fact I had a mental health condition. I acknowledged the fact that I tried to drive into a wall for the second time at 50 miles an hour. I acknowledged that I'd gone to work, gone to the GP. But then thereafter, it starts. So you're suffering with crippling anxiety. Anxiety that means that you don't want to leave the house because all of a sudden people know that you're around the neighbourhood. There's a target on your back. Why is he here? You then go to the GP, and if you've got a name like mine, you're terrified that when you put your name in and the flag comes up, people can see that Sefik Villasanti, how can that marry up with the Great British flag? You then sit in the GP's reception and your name flashes up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock in the morning. Sefik Villasanti. People can make the assumption that you're clearly some foreigner working here, sponging off the state, not working here, sponging off the state, seeing the doctor. And then the shame of going to the pharmacist to pick up your mirtazapine and your sertraline. They can clearly work out that you are a, inverted commas, nut job. And then the shame if you're like me and you lost your job and you lost your career and you had to go to the state for help and your prescriptions were being paid. I had that for over a year. And not only did I have to battle with what I saw was the stigma of suffering from a mental health condition, but I also had to get these preconceptions in my head that everybody was watching me. That's how crippling social anxiety and depression is. You cannot see the wood for the trees. You are constantly in that victim love victim mode, misery loves misery for company mode, and you can't get out of it because every waking moment you are defined by how you are feeling. So how do you break away from it? How? Well, as I said, it starts with you. It starts with the support network. It starts with me having the most amazing wife and parents and children that supported me throughout it. It started through me eventually 18 months after trying to take my life for the second time, opening up to other people other than my wife and mum and dad. Not being ashamed, understanding that 1 in 3 people will suffer with this. So there's a bloody good chance 1 in 3 people that I know would be suffering from it. And those people that seem to be gracefully floating across the top of the duck pond are frantically paddling sometimes because they're struggling as well. That's just a bit of an insight into how day to day it affected me, and one thing which was quite profound, which was the GP visits every Wednesday. So on the Friday I could forward in my sick note and then sit on the phone or sit in person justifying when I might see myself back. How are you feeling today? How do I know? I don't know. All I know is that I wouldn't want anybody to go through this. So Mental Health Awareness Week, there's one thing you can do. How about picking up the phone? Picking up the phone rather than sharing a screenshot or whatever it might be, an emoji, is more powerful than you possibly know. I know when people picked up the phone to me to say, "You okay, Sefik? Do you fancy going out for a walk?" when we could, inverted commas, go out for a walk, was powerful stuff. And that's how powerful you are. And my road to recovery, quite clearly and quite obviously, was down to me leaving myself open, which is why I do what I do today as a coach and author and speaker. But most importantly, allowing other people in my life not to shy away. Because if they could see that I was open to the questions, then they were open to the answers and get a greater understanding. How does that sound? If you want to know a little bit more about me, please look me up. You know where to go. But most importantly, if you want to know more about me or how to give you a bit of a snapshot about mental health this week during Mental Health Week, put a comment in down below, as always, and I'm happy to share a little bit of my story. Have the most amazing Monday. Like I say, if I do go AWOL for a bit, it's only because this is getting looked after. And it's amazing what cocodamol and a lot of CBD oil does just to try and get you to do these blogs. So have the most amazing day. Thanks for love and support, and I will catch up with you soon. Cheerio. Bye.